Hey everybody, welcome to the Goots Wrestling Pod. It's a big week. It's a WrestleMania week. It's WrestleMania 8. I'm here with Andrew Lee. And Andrew Lee, check out the sweater.
Wow, the Nacho Man. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, I figured this is a
Is
macho.
that a Christmas sweater?
Yeah, it's a Macho Man. Dude, you want to know how much I paid? You know how much I paid for this? I still can't believe I bought it. I bought two. Guess how much I paid for this?
Well, you bought two of the same sweater?
No, I got a Bret Hart one too. But guess how much I paid for each?
$20.
$75.
Hmm.
I can't
You
believe
gotta
it.
wear it 75 times. You get your money's
Yeah,
worth.
I forgot where I wore it, but I wore it on stage during this week. But yeah, I didn't wear the Bret Hart one though all year. I gotta wear it like in January. But I bought this years ago when I was like just spending money, and I look back like, wow, that was fun.
That was a lot of money, especially that's like years ago. That's like pre-pandemic. Oh, a lot of money, brother.
But I'll tell you what's not a lot of money. Peacock for $5, you can see WrestleMania 8. Overall, so this WrestleMania I liked as a kid. I have to say it suffers from the same problem as 7. Is the first half is fire, and the second half is kind of hard to sit through.
Yeah, certain points. It's not as bad as the dip is not as bad.
Well, I'll
But
tell
there
you why.
is a
Less
dip.
matches. Less matches.
Yeah, but there
They,
is a dip, but it's not as bad as the other ones. Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
they realize like we don't have to give uh Texas Tornado. I feel bad. We don't have to give Texas Tornado a match at WrestleMania. We don't have to give fucking Berserker. Although, I mean, he's dead in a year. They could have gave Texas Tornado a match.
I mean, they could have done Texas Tornado versus Berserker, right?
Yeah,
What
but
the
then they
fuck?
were like, but then they're like, but wisely they're like, that's 10 minutes nobody wants to sit through. So why would we do that? Yeah. I,
Like this uh pay-per-view, this WrestleMania 8, when it starts off, I'm thinking like this might actually be one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time.
mhm.
And up until this point, I think it's still a very, very. It's not. I don't think it's the best, but it's up there. I think it's still pretty good. A lot,
It's
a lot of
it's
shit happens.
it's really good. This was the first one where people were like, "Holy shit!" There's a lot of like work rate because the other WrestleMania, especially like 5 and 6, nothing happens till the main event. Like there's angles and stuff, but there's like no matches where you're like, "Holy shit!" You're just watching like the whole roster wrestle for 4 hours.
You're right.
This is the first one where everyone's, well, for the most part, people are trying to have bangers. Like there's left and right bangers. Like,
And I also
and they're
read
giving the
somebody.
time that bangers because, like, let's be honest, Kerry Von Erich and Dino Bravo, even if they put it, even if they like we're gonna fucking practice for a month, we're gonna have the best match in the card. They only had like what 4 minutes. There's no time for them to have a banger. You know what I mean?
Wait, is Dino Bravo still in this company at this point?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
1992. He's still there.
He's like on like the D shows. He's like not even on TV, but yeah, he's still around. Kind
Wow, man. Nobody. He might be a terrible wrestler, but you got to give him credit. He had staying power. He stayed there
He's
for a
he didn't
very,
want to leave when they let
very
him go.
long time.
He was like, I don't want to go, and they're like, you're fired. You have to go. He's like, but no, I don't want to go. And then he got
Dude,
murdered a year later.
He was in WWF until May 17th, 1992. He was there
Yeah,
for a
he outlasted Hogan.
ridiculously long time. What?
He outlasted Hogan because Hogan
Yeah,
goes,
he was there for a long time. I will say this. So I read somewhere somebody said that tech this is like the last kind of WrestleMania of that era, the Hulk Hogan era,
yeah,
you
I would
know?
say 9 is in a weird place. I say 9 is like in between New Generation, and I would say the first official like New Generation WrestleMania is 10.
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and also 10 is the one. 10 is the one where I kind of feel like WWE didn't really promote 3 as having like a great match. They didn't really say like, "Oh, like this WrestleMania had a great match." But 10 is the first one because I wasn't watching wrestling back then, where they were telling you on TV 10 had a great match that you should watch because it's a good, which is Shawn Michaels Razor. it's such good work rate. Like they're not saying it like that, but they're implying that, which they never did before. You know, they didn't tell you like Hogan Savage had such great work rate, you need to watch it. You know what I mean?
They didn't say that about Savage Steamboat.
No, they just said it was like a great. They just said like because Steamboat left right away, but they just said like yeah, they said stuff like Savage stole the show at WrestleMania 3, but they didn't say like you should rent WrestleMania 3 to see a great match. Like, you know what I mean? This is like 10's the first time where they start promoting WrestleMania as having great matches, which I kind of feel like was a new generation thing where they were like, okay, so like less people are watching us and Hogan was more popular, but we're having better matches.
Yeah, I guess because it's at this point now you're starting to really pull back the curtain a little bit more,
But
so
eight
forth.
also, this was the first WrestleMania where I feel like the wrestling nerds were like, "Oh, there's so many great matches on this show. This is the best." At the time, I think
WrestleMania 8.
yes, I think at the time when there's just 8 of them, I think a lot of wrestling nerds consider this the best one.
I can see that. I think this was a really good one. Out of all the WrestleManias we've seen, right? I
Mm.
think this was so far up to this point the best one. I mean, me personally, I think so.
Yeah, I think yes. If you're looking at it just from the work, yes. In terms of my memories, this one annoys me because so literally this is what happens. Like I'm sitting there watching the weekly TV, and I just we're gonna have Hogan Sid, and then he'll go and feud with Ric Flair, right? Or whatever.
Mhm.
And then literally the week, like the week, no, not even the week. I think the weekend of WrestleMania, Vince drops his interview with a lot of people say you're gonna retire after tomorrow, and Hogan's like doing this. I don't know what the future holds, but
Yeah.
and Vince, and he just drops it out of nowhere, and I'm like, what do you mean he's gonna retire? And then when the show starts, I didn't see it live. They're like, this might be his last match, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, why would this be his last match? And then he just vanishes for like a fucking year. And I got so pissed because I didn't want him to go, and they just dropped that on everyone like 2 days before the fucking show.
Do you know the backstory behind that? Like why that happened?
I think it's because the drug stuff, the steroid.
Mm,
I
I
think they were
see.
like, just go away for a little bit.
Okay, that's what it is. But that I didn't know that came out out of no left field. But you know what? As somebody who's never seen WrestleMania 8 fully,
Mhm.
seeing it now like this, it added more stakes to it that it could
Yeah.
be Hogan's last match.
The
So you want to
you
get
know
right
what?
into it?
Yeah, but you know what it would be like if you're a newer fan, you're listening to this. It would be like the SmackDown before WrestleMania. They just announced, "Hey, CM Punk." A lot of people saying he can retire this weekend, and he's just like, "Yeah, I might." And then like he wins the match and still just vanishes off TV. It's like, wait, what happened? Why is he suddenly vanish? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it wasn't like a clean win or anything
No, I know.
though,
Like
right?
CM Punk was by disqualification and just vanishes for a year, and like they don't tell you why. It would be like that, but like they don't promote it until the very last second that he's gonna leave, and it's like, wait, what? I was like very offended as a young man.
Yeah, if you're a Hogan fan, yeah, I can see how you'll be
Comes
offended.
out of
But
nowhere.
it was. All right, let's get right into this.
Mhm.
WrestleMania 8, Friendship Torn Apart, the Macho Flair Affair. This takes place April 5th, 1992, in Indianapolis, the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis. 62,167 people in attendance.
Wow,
That's a big number.
this is when the show was on the downswing. It wasn't as popular as like 2, 3 years ago, and they still drew that many. Crazy.
Yeah, that's a big number. WrestleMania 5, the one right before, oh, actually not 5. What am I saying?
Seven.
WrestleMania 5. WrestleMania 7, which was the one previous. That's the one where they had Sergeant Slaughter. 16,000. So look at the jump. That's like a what?
That's a
I don't
big
know. Like
jump.
that's a
And
huge
when
jump.
you
That's like
consider like there's no warrior, there's no bulldog, there's not like the card has a lot less wrestlers than the previous ones. Maybe people like Ric Flair and Sid Justice that much. I don't know what to tell you.
I will say though, it is less than the Hogan versus Warrior WrestleMania, which had 67,000. So
But it's
it
still
seems to go 60 down to the teens,
I would
60
say
down to
this
the
is
teens.
a better success because you have less. You can always argue like, well, you had like 40 guys on the card, right? You have
Uh-huh.
less guys on the card. A lot more of them are unproven. I mean, you have Shawn Michaels in a long match. You have Skinner in a fucking match. These are not like at the time. I mean, Skinner now is a main eventer, but these are guys that nobody really knows about. So I would say this is a bigger success because you have less people. You can argue six drew not just because of Hogan Warrior, but because of you had the whole roster on the show.
Right.
Andre, Coco
You know
Beware.
what's really interesting about these WrestleManias? When you look at it, the numbers really fluctuate.
Yeah.
Like you could go from like one year drawing at like 18,000 for WrestleMania, the next year you're drawing like 62,000. That's a huge gap of money. Like that's a huge gap, and it's so weird that it doesn't fluctuate as much this year. It's like pretty much almost always selling
Well,
out.
because now it's an event. Like because
Yeah,
now they've trained us marks to buy tickets. Like they've already sold how many tickets? We don't know the card. They could book whatever they want. They're saying that it's Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. They could do CM Punk versus Omos. People are still going to be there.
yeah, that's true. And they'll be like, you know what? That almost is not as bad as I thought.
But yeah, but back then I think it depended on the main event. I think it depended on who's going to be on the card.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think back then it really wasn't. It wasn't solidified as a traditional thing yet.
Mhm.
You know,
Dude, I'll
but yeah,
never
we get.
forget. I stopped watching wrestling for a while, and then I got back into it because of Nintendo 64. And the first tape I rented, I hadn't rented a wrestling tape since 1993, and it's 1998. It's like January 98. First tape I rented, WrestleMania 13, and I was shocked at how small the building was. And I was like, wow, I remember when this was such a big deal. And
Yeah,
they almost like it almost became now that WrestleMania is my favorite match of all time, but the rest of the card's not that good. But I felt watching 13 like this doesn't mean anything anymore. They almost lost it, bro.
they did. They almost did lose it, but they didn't lose it here.
Mm-hmm.
They still got the juice. And speaking of juice, we got Junior welcoming us with the
Ah,
intro
great.
to WrestleMania, rah, using his action
He's got
figures
to bring
voice.
it, dude. Dude, I
Yeah,
really think this WrestleMania, he's got to do it.
I
CM
love
Punk.
that monster truck like announcement guy voice. I love it. I do love it too. He goes over to the main matches for the card, and Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan, they are on commentary. They get Reba McEntire to sing the national anthem. She sings it a cappella style, and she fucking knocks this out of the park. She's a really good singer. I didn't realize how good she was.
I forget, I didn't really, I'm looking back as a kid, I didn't care. She was a big deal back then. That's like
Yeah,
not like getting Taylor Swift, but it's like getting someone like it's getting like someone who's she was a big deal. I forget she was on the radio a lot in the early 90s. So like this was a big deal they had her. But I love the fact that one of the funniest Bobby Heenan jokes, Ariba McIntyre and
yeah,
Tito's sister, and I started laughing when they bowed to each other. I love the fact that like back then they still like made fun of celebrities. Like, you know what I mean? They still didn't
yeah,
make the
yeah,
celebrity
yeah.
part of
It
the
was
act.
Yeah, I actually like that interaction. So as soon as she stops singing and she's like leaving the ring, Tito is coming in for the opening match, and
Mhm.
they do greet each other. And yeah, that's when Bobby Heenan calls her Ariba McIntyre, like Ariba, and I thought that was very funny
Yeah,
too. That was very
I still call her in my head. Sometimes I'll call her Reba McIntyre.
I like that the way they set it up where she kind of runs into Tito. I like that. It's little things like that that kind of make it a little more fun. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah.
So we're gonna go right into our first match. Tito Santana, who's at this point being referred to as El Matador, versus HBK Shawn Michaels with Sherry. And this Shawn Michaels comes out with his original theme, which is actually sung entirely by Sherry, not by him.
Off key, and they did that on purpose.
Yes, yes. And like I like the Shawn Michaels one better, but this one is still kind of fun.
It's funny
And
because like
yeah,
what was
which
funny
one do you
about
prefer, by the way?
I'm the new one, but when I was younger, I like the Sherry one because the Sherry one is funny because it's like she's like helplessly in love with this guy, and like
Yes.
she's decided to sing a song and she can't even sing, and so she's just like it sounds like she's making it up as she's going along. Like it sounds like she had no idea what she's doing, and she's just in the booth, and she's like just so desperate for Shawn Michaels. It was
Yeah,
really good, and you know what? It got over. She did a lot. She did a lot to get over Shawn Michaels.
she did a lot to get over a lot of people.
Hmm.
You
But I think
know,
Shawn
she
was her biggest success because Macho Man, Ted DiBiase, a lot of
they
people.
were kind of already established.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this guy, like you have to now take him seriously, and she's putting all her efforts in making you take this guy seriously as a
yeah,
legit main
yeah,
event. Yeah,
absolutely. Sherry is like, if you want to know what the art of being a great, like, if people might say valets are old fashioned now and stuff, there's an art form to it, an art form of being a valet where you can actually get the entire product over, right?
you know,
And Sherry's a great example of
you know who's like her, and I would not be surprised if she watches Sherry stuff. I think who's doing a great job both ends. People criticize her, and I don't get Rhea Ripley. I watched the CM Punk Dominic. By the way, we're taping this on Wednesday. She was doing a great job being like a Sherry China on the on ringside, distracting CM Punk and shit. And then the next minute, she has like a banger match, and
that.
it's like she's doing for Dom what Sherry did for Shawn Michaels. You
I
know?
can see that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely Dominic, dude. Dominic would not be where he is without the pairing of uh
Rhea,
Ripley. Oh,
and
yeah,
the fact that Rhea can
100% helped out.
she can go from like his valet to like the champion, and like she's valid in both roles. I think that's a big testament to her. But she totally gets what Sherry had. She has too.
Yeah, yeah. Elizabeth is also a great example of valet that really helps the product. And I honestly, it's not. There's no shame in just being a valet. There's no shame in being just a manager because it's a role you play. Like you, it's like a role you play in a movie. You know, and you, depending on how well you do it, there isn't there you can. There's an art to it where if you're successful, you can make a lot of money with it.
Yeah, sometimes some fans like get pissed if Rhea is just like managing Dom at a pay per view, not having a match, and I'm like, I don't care about that. Like she's great in that role. Like she doesn't like. There's two women's titles anyway. Like you don't need to have her wrestle every pay per view.
That's true. I agree. There's, I mean, if you count the NXT one, three. I don't know.
Yeah,
Fuck.
like
All
well,
right.
Tony Khan just created four more women's titles. So
Yeah, he did. Four more. Yeah, yeah.
no, he did the Ring of Honor women's TV title.
Yeah, yeah. I know he did.
Yeah,
At the last Ring of Honor pay per view created another women's title. I think that dumb, but there's so many titles in fucking AEW Ring of Honor that they're dumb. So whatever. I don't
I
give a fuck.
just it's just that you know I don't. I was hoping to get free tickets to World's End, and then I got offered a gig, and I just took the gig. I'm like, I really don't need to be at World's End. Like, I really don't
Yeah,
need.
yeah. I would take. Is it a paying gig?
Yeah, it's paid really
No,
well.
then take the paying gig, dude. Take
Yeah.
the paying
Well,
gig. Why would you go to fucking World's End? That's a dude. That's like a no brainer question.
well, I'll tell you because if it was the Royal Rumble or the paid gig, I'd pick the Royal Rumble.
Ah, it would depend on how much they're paying me and how what they're feeding.
Okay, I'll take the All In where Daniel. Oh, I'm sorry, CM Punk had his first match. I would have picked that over the paid gig where he fought Darby. If that was in New York, I would have went to that instead of doing the paid gig. That's how. But see, AEW is so in the hole. I'd rather make money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get back to this match.
All right.
So Tito Santana at this point, he's kind of a little getting older, but he is still very quick. And when I was watching this, I was like, man, Tito Santana, he's like the opening match a lot, but I can totally see why.
Yeah.
He is great in the opening match. He's people like him a lot,
Mhm.
and the guy can't have a stinker. Like people don't. I don't think he's talked about enough in the when it comes to conversations about like guys who are good wrestlers because like I have yet to see the amount of matches we've seen. I have yet to really see a Tito stinker. You
He
know?
doesn't really have stinkers. I mean,
Yeah,
some
he
of
doesn't
his
have stinkers.
Survivor Series matches weren't that great, but that's not because of him. It's because
Yeah,
of
that doesn't count. That doesn't count. It's like fucking 10 guys in there. But yeah, like when he's in like you put him in a tag team match or you put him in a fucking singles match, he just doesn't have stinkers. Like
no.
he doesn't have like Bret Hart versus like Stone Cold Steve Austin,
I
like
but
fucking
I
classic
think he
either. But
could. He could. If Vince said to him, "I need you to have a Bret Hart Stone Cold Steve Austin match tonight," he could, but he knew his role. His
yeah,
role is I have to get over Shawn Michaels.
yes, I have to get this show started hot, and
Yeah,
I have to
and
get this
Shawn has
guy
to look good at
over.
the end of it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Tito is like, dude, if I could ever be a pro wrestler, I would say like, if somebody said like, you'll get as far as Tito Santana, as far as success level, and as far as like your respectability among your peers, and I'll be like, that's perfectly fine. I think.
Remember, in a few months, Tito is the second choice behind Bret Hart over who to beat Ric Flair. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's the power of Tito. He can be a jobber or he can be in the main event. He's valid in both, and that's
Like
really valuable to have.
somebody posted a clip on Reddit a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a couple of days ago, of him beating Undertaker. I think like back in like 1992 or 1991
Mhm.
in like Spain. The crowd's going crazy, and they were saying like, "Yeah, man, like this is around the time where I remember when Tito came out and said that he was like into consideration of being like the world champion,
Yeah.
and people laughed at that. Some people did initially, right? But like, I didn't like. You can totally see that's like a legitimate thing, like you know.
I think yeah, because I think like if and I know looking back as a kid, if let's say like let's say Tito walked outside his main event and said, "Sergeant Slaughter, I'm challenging you tonight." I would, and then he starts like getting offense. I would totally buy him winning the belt. And if he did win the belt, he's the man in my head. Like I'm ready. As a kid, I know me and my friends were ready and willing to say you're the man to him. We just never had
Yeah,
the opportunity. But I can tell you that if there was a an angle or a feud where he won the belt back when I was like, I think we would have had strokes. We would have been so happy. But
yeah,
it's that's but here's the secret to Tito Santana. That's why I said WWE wants 57 Tito Santanas. When he loses, I don't show it off the TV. Whereas when Hogan lost, I went away for 5 years.
yeah, yeah. And like when Bret Hart got fucked over, I was like, I'm fucking done with this. When
People walked away.
when
Tito he can lose, or he can win the belt, or he can like fucking lose the opening match, and we all feel the same. And that's why I said this a few weeks ago on the podcast. WWE wants 42 Tito Santanas. If you think about it,
no, he is.
Jay and Sammy are kind of like Tito Santanas.
He's like a warm, soft blanket. It's like, you know, like I think it's dirty. It's all right. Just wash it. It's just like it's comforting. Like, yeah, when you see him lose, it doesn't change your perspective of him at all.
Yes. Where
But if he wins, it's like a regular match. It also doesn't change your perspective. He's just like he's a very comforting. It's very comforting to see him on a WWE pay per view.
dude,
And I think the day we stop, it's gonna be all sad.
when I think I just realized the amount of money they lost just from me. I used to rent videotapes. I would buy figures. I would buy the magazine. I would buy the black and white magazines. When Hogan lost to Yokozuna, I stopped all of that. And that's the thing. It's like that's the danger of a Hulk Hogan because you can get me to stop buying if you fuck up his booking. You know, the amount of money they lost from me because of that one decision. Fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, but this is why I think they've learned from that, and
Yeah.
this is why if you look at them now, the strongest thing they have is their own brand, WWE.
Yes.
Nobody's
Yes.
bigger than the brand, which is that you know that to their credit, that was genius, dude. That was genius, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, in this match of Shawn Michaels versus Tito Santana, we're doing the full Shawn Michaels like gimmick where he's very. Just to begin, he's got to take off his earring, take off his jacket, all the zippers got to be undone. The full gimmick that I actually loved in the beginning when he used to do this. Shawn Michaels hits the during this match. He hits the sweet chin music back when it wasn't the finisher, just like a signature move. It gets a big reaction. It was even great back then. It was a fantastic move. Tito Santana hits his El Matador finisher, which is the El Paso de la Muerte, which is like the fucking clubbing forearm to the back of the head. But Shawn Michaels rolls out of the ring. And as Shawn Michaels gets back up on the apron, Tito scoops him up to fucking like body slam him. But then Shawn Michaels kind of grabs onto the rope. So like he falls on top of Tito Santana for a cover in the win. There is it's kind of like a out of nowhere finish, which we're gonna see a lot of,
Hmm?
but I think that out of nowhere finish worked the best here
Yeah.
because at this point Tito is ahead of Shawn Michaels,
Hmm.
right? And it, it's not if you want to do it where Shawn Michaels wins with no interference at all from Sherry, because there was none. She's just there ringside. And it's just like, how do you get this guy to one up Tito Santana and beat him, but in a believable fashion where it's like, oh, it's not like, I don't know, like it's not Grayson Waller beating The Rock out of nowhere, you know? And this was
Or
it.
Austin Theory beating John Cena out of nowhere.
Yeah, yeah. Like sometimes it's fake, I get it, but if you have like a really lopsided guy just winning, it just throws all illusion out the window. But
Yeah.
this one, I thought this out of nowhere victory, it worked perfectly here. Tito was the right guy, Shawn Michaels was the right guy. I like this. What did you think?
You know, when I was a kid, I thought
Yeah.
this was such a long match. I thought it was like a 20-minute, 25-minute match. I remember like one day I was doing like my homework to this match, and I did like three assignments while this was, it's not that long of a match. I was like, this
It's
isn't
not
that.
that far off though. It's 18 minutes. That's
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know why it didn't seem that long to me, but I liked it. I thought it was a really good way. Also, did you notice right before the match started, they said people are having a hard time getting in. They might miss this match. Did you hear Gorilla say that?
no, no, I didn't.
I think this match went a little bit longer to give people more time to get in before they got to the matches, which no offense to these two guys, people really did want to see. So
Yeah, but to the credit, the reason why this is an 18-minute match and you said it didn't feel like it is because
I
I
feel like
think
that
that's
now
how
that I'm
good
older.
it is. Yeah, that's how good it is. When a match is good, you don't realize how long it is. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah, that's what
Um
I think that's what it is. When it's a bad match, it's
I thought it was
drag.
really good. It's a really good way to establish that Shawn Michaels is not just going to be a jobber. He's going to be
Yeah.
something to watch. Because sometimes people, turn heel and nothing comes of it. But they're letting you know something's going to come of this. Just you got to pay attention to this guy. And I liked it. I thought both guys worked hard. And this is a good first step to Shawn Michaels becoming Mr. WrestleMania. In two
Yeah.
years, he changes the business. He changes the business on a massive level. And this is the start of his journey to that day.
Yep. And after the match, they show a fan in the sign, the crowd who's got a sign that says, "Talk is cheap and so is she."
Well, how about someone Shawn Michaels is the real rocker? I was like, oh, somebody in production doesn't like Marty Jannetty to show that sign because they only show you sign. If they like were like, no, we got to protect Marty, they wouldn't have shown that sign.
So after this match, they throw to Mean Gene, who's standing on that, the interview stage in the arena, and he welcomes the Legion of Doom with the debuting Paul Ellering in the WWF, and they cut a promo on Jimmy Hart, Ted DiBiase, and the IRS Money Incorporated. There's no match for them, but this is just like kind of like
Went way too.
their yeah, it was like an intro to Paul Ellering and stuff. Um, yeah, way too long. This is a group where the less they talk, the better it is.
Way too long. By watching this, Paul Ellering was so bad in this. I'm like, I cannot believe that he's about to make a big return. I thought to myself, if you went back in time and said to a fan, somebody on the show is going to make a big return in 2024, no one would guess Paul Ellering. No one would guess that it was going to be Paul Ellering on Smack. Did you see that? I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
No.
Oh, Karrion Cross revealed that he has a new faction, and in it is the Authors of Pain with Paul Ellering. They're back.
Wait. I know authors of pain in there. Paul Ellering's there too.
Yeah, yeah.
Did they show or did they just show the shadows?
They show the shadows, but Paul Ellering's with them. And apparently, when Triple H called them to come back, they were insistent they want Paul Ellering to like. They felt it wasn't right that Vince made them get rid of Paul Ellering, and they want him in the faction. And Triple H said, "Okay."
That's not carrying Cross in the shadow.
No, that's Paul Ellering. If you watch the vignette, Karrion Cross now has hair. He's talking, and he goes like,
Oh, that's right. He has hair now. I forget.
"Yeah." And then so yeah, Paul Ellering. I'm breaking news to you. Yeah, Paul Ellering's back, which is crazy to me because he's so bad in this, and it's like 32 years later, he's back. in a huge role.
So, dude, he is 70 years old.
Yeah,
And I will say this about Paul Ellering.
great. It's everything.
He is somebody who must be really fucking great to work with because like El Legion of Doom was so loyal to this guy, and AOP is so loyal to this guy as well.
Yeah, and Triple H also the only person who, and I would have done the same if I was Vince. Vince is the one who said that he can't be with Authors of Pain, and they didn't.
Yeah,
They didn't.
because he's just his age. Yeah.
But Triple H was like, "Yeah, we can have him back." He's so bad at this though. He's so bad, dude. I wish Hawk. I wish Hawk had had like the Jey Uso, Shawn Michaels push. He's so much better than Animal and fucking Paul Ellering. He could have been like a Hogan. He could have been like a Hogan level like champion in WCW or something. He's so much better than these two guys. But whatever. I know
Um,
he was the one with the most drug problems, so you couldn't rely on him.
yeah, yeah, that's true. That you know what? Yeah, we even know there's some comedians with a lot of talent, but they're their own worst enemy. You know what? And those people will not as go as far as people who are reliable. That's just the way it is.
I remember like I was reading a Torch talk with Paul Heyman. This is right after he got fired from WCW, and they were like, "You could hire 5 wrestlers to build a company around. Who would it be?" And he said Road Warrior Hawk would be my Hulk Hogan. And when I was younger, I was like, I don't understand that. Now I totally get it. He goes, Road Warrior Hawk uh would be the guy. And
Not for
Sting,
me.
he goes Sting, Road Warrior. Who did he say? He said I remember it was Sting, Road Warrior Hawk, and then were 3 other people. This is like if he could have anybody.
That's even dumber knowing if he knew who that guy was because like when you say you want to build a company around, you got to take into all like you don't just get the best parts of somebody, you get the whole fucking person.
I think he thinks or he thought that he could he
Oh,
probably thinks I could probably get the drug stuff under control. I don't if I
Sting, I
guess
get, right? Sting, I would have. I actually would have taken like the Steiner brothers. I think those guys were fucking phenomenal.
I
You
forget who
know?
the other 3 were, but Sting and Road Warrior Hawk were going to be like the 2 faces. If he could have anybody in a company.
Yeah, maybe back then his drug problems weren't that. Maybe it just gets worse
Maybe
as
he
I.
thought maybe these guys, you know what these guys do. I'm
Yeah,
actually in a better place. I'd love to be part of ECW. I'm not.
yeah, yeah.
It's not as bad. I found God.
It's
Well,
like, or maybe they're like, oh, the drug problems make him even cooler. You know, who knows? All right.
speaking of
So
drug
after
problem,
that Paul Ellering talk segment, there's more talking segments. Sean Mooney's in the back with Jake Roberts. And they mention about how, Jack Tunney says no more bringing snakes to the ring. And Robert says, Jack Tunney, he's senile. He's all mad at Jack Tunney for not letting him bring snakes to the ring anymore. And they recap what happened with Jake Roberts attacking The Undertaker and Paul Bear at the funeral parlor. Um, they only show you a clip of this. If you ever want to see the full clip, you can find it on YouTube where Jake Roberts is there and he attacks Undertaker and Paul Bear. It's a great segment. I loved this when I was a kid. I just because it's the first time you're seeing Taker turn kind of a
be
good guy.
vulnerable. Be vulnerable.
Yeah, be vulnerable and be a good guy.
Yeah.
Really.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great segment. It's gonna lead to our match number 2. Jake Roberts versus Taker with Paul Bear. Taker, he's beating on Jake, beating on Jake. Eventually, Jake Roberts hits the DDT out of nowhere. People are fucking, yeah, because it's the DDT. Remember, that was a really, really protected Jake Roberts finish for a while. But then Taker sits up. And people are going crazy. They're like, oh shit, someone's getting up the DDT. Jake Roberts hits that second DDT. And then he turns his attention on the urn because Jake Roberts is smart. He knows there's power in the urn. So he goes out to go get Paul Bear, but while he's doing that, Taker gets up. And Taker follows him outside, and then he hits Jake Roberts with a tombstone on the floor. Taker rolls him back in, and he pins him for the win. I fucking love this. They show Vladimir, the super fan in the audience. He holds up a Macho Man tank top. He loves it too. What did you think? Did you love it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love this match as a kid. I love it as an adult. Man, Jake the Snake really put over fucking Undertaker. It goes from like 0 to 60. It's also such a great way to establish the streak. So many good things come from this match. And Yeah, yeah, I thought this, and it's a great way for Jake to go out. He goes out like giving all his heat to the Undertaker. He's gone after this. There's no more Jake in WWF.
Oh, I didn't
He
realize.
quit that day. Yeah, but if someone's gonna quit the day of, that's the way you put over your opponent. And yeah, I always loved this match. Thought this was great. And it's a great way to establish Undertaker as someone now you can root for. We were against them for 2 years, well, a year and a half now. Now it's like, all right, now this guy, no, wow, this guy's a good guy and he's this badass. This is fucking awesome. Great match.
I did
Undertaker,
not know that this was Jake Roberts' last match in WWE until he comes back, but that's a such a professional way to leave too. It's
yeah,
like, yo, when I leave, like I'm sure it wasn't on good terms of him leaving, but he was
no.
like, you know what? Even though we're on bad terms, I'm gonna still do my job like a motherfucking
He
professional.
said him and Vince weren't getting along anymore, and he goes, but that had nothing to do. And Vince like, are you not going to put Undertaker over? He goes, yeah, I'm going to put Undertaker over. It's nothing to do with him. I'm not mad at him. I'm mad at you.
Yeah,
You know,
that's fair. That's
of course, I'm going to
that's
put this guy
fair.
over. Yeah,
I'm not
like I'm
mad at him.
leaving.
I'm not at you, motherfucker.
But
That
I
is
feel like a lot
very
of
fair.
modern wrestlers would be like, I'm mad at this company. I don't want to put over Jungle.
Yeah. No, that's a lot. You know what though? There's wrestlers like that in the past. There's wrestlers like that now. You know?
Just you make the guy look good, and look if Jake had gotten his shit back together, they probably could have like he could have came back years later, had a huge feud with him, but he never really got his life back together like that. So
Yeah. Don't do drugs, kids. Mean Gene Okerlund, he's in the back, and he is with Piper and Bret Hart. And Piper talks about loving Bret's family, and it's got a point, but it's still like a Roddy Piper in the Too Much Cocaine early '90s
and then
promos.
and then
Like,
Bret Hart gets annoyed,
yeah,
which
it's all over the fucking place. It's all over the place. He's trying to be funny. It's none of it's funny. None of the jokes are hitting. But then he tries to pinch Brett, and Brett like fucking like swats his hand away, and he doesn't like that, and he goes, "Keep your hands to yourself." And then Brett gets on the mic and he goes, "Hey, I just want the Intercontinental title, and you just happen to have it." And he's like, "I'm gonna take it." And then Piper says, "Oh, okay. Well then, if you want it, you can come get it." But he's like, "I don't want it here. I don't want to do it here. I want to do it on the ring where millions can watch me rip your head off." And then
mm,
they did do a good shoving match. Brett really saved this segment by reeling Piper back in from like that goofy shit and making it go into that rage.
and
And
then
they even ended well, where as they're arguing and going to the shoving match, you see Piper's like slowly sticking his hand down behind the belt, and then right when like Piper's turning around, Brett like kind of has his fit. It's like, dude, I could have had you. And Piper pulls out like a fucking like a belt wrapped around his head. He's like, no, you wouldn't have. I
yeah,
was like, dude,
and then
it made it look like Brett has no fear of Piper, but Piper, he is still smarter than you realize. You know, like
when Piper goes like, "Not today," I don't think so. It's like every now and then, like Piper gets snapped. You know what I like about Piper is you think he's like a useless, like fucking cocaine idiot, and then like something happens on the show, and he like is like, "Oh no! I was just fucking around. I could kill you if I want."
yes, yeah,
Like
no,
you think I'm a
that's how.
fucking idiot?
Yeah, that's how like this segment ended. It was so good when he pulled out the fucking like belt around his fist, like, and Brett's like, "Oh, I could have had you." And he goes, no, you couldn't have."
Yeah,
Like showing that, like, yeah, Brett's not scared of this guy anymore,
but also like
but don't ever underestimate Piper because
yeah,
he is like deceivingly sly, you
and
know?
just because it's just like just because this guy's been sitting at the announce table for a year, don't fucking think he lost a step. He's coming for you, Brett. Like
Oh yeah,
he's not gonna go down without a fight. Yeah, I really like this
yeah.
promo between the two of them.
Yes, between these two guys, this was a great promo. This is a great setup for the match that's coming next. It's really hard to find two guys who could do something like this these days, where they could have a great like a few minute backstage segment that makes you want to watch the match right afterwards. But we're going into match number 3 for the Intercontinental title. Bret the Hitman Hart faces versus Roddy Piper, the champion. In the beginning of this match, Bret keeps getting the best of Piper. He's a little faster, a little younger, and Piper gets a little annoyed, so he spits on Bret. Brett drop kicks Roddy Piper, but he kind of lands down awkwardly and he starts favoring his right shoulder. And Piper's like, "Oh, dude, what's wrong?" And it was all a ploy so that he could small package Piper, who now gets mad because this guy's like trying to deceive his goodwill. So he slaps Bret Hart. They struggle a bit, and they do this thing where they're trying to go over the top rope. They kind of like fumbling around, but they still are able to both go over. Uh, Piper tries to, he gets back up in the apron and he goes, all right, let's do good sportsmanship. And he pretends and he tries to let Bret in. And as Bret's coming, he fucking sucker punches Bret Hart. Because it's like, you know what? I can play this game too. And he starts going on the attack with punches, and Bret is now bleeding. Right?
Yeah.
Back and forth. And then all of a sudden, the ref gets knocked down. And then Piper slams Bret on the steps. This is when he starts getting vicious. Now that the referee's out of the picture, he's slamming into the steps. He goes outside. He gets the ring bell, and he brings it into the ring. And he holds it over his head, just coming crashing down on Bret. And he looks around at the fans. And the fans are just fucking like going crazy because, oh, this is such a great moment. It's like, you know what this is? Oh, this is such a great moment. Piper, he was a bad guy for a very fucking long time. He was the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
Like he was
Yeah.
the first like real villain in WWF. And fans, it hasn't been that long that fans forgot this. They remember this. Now, even though he's a good guy. And this villain was rearing its head in this moment. But the fans, they're going crazy because they don't want him to do it. And Piper looks around, and because of the fans, he just goes, I can't do it. He throws away the ring bell, and instead he puts the sleeper on Bret Hart. And Bret, while the sleeper's on him, pushes off the turnbuckles, flips it over into a cover for the win. After the match, Piper gets the belt, gives it to Bret, and endorses him. Tell me about what your thoughts are on this match, Ray.
I love this match. This is probably Piper's best WrestleMania match. I think this is one of Piper's best matches of all time.
Better than him versus Mr. T, the boxing match?
No, actually, that's the greatest match of all time. That's but no, it's so fucking great. Piper told Bret Hart, I'm gonna make you, like, we're gonna do this. And Piper puts everything, and this is what it is with Jake and Piper. They put everything they can into making these guys, into giving, like, all my heat from the 80s is now on you, go into the next decade. And the fact that Bret Hart didn't work the way he should have, you can't blame Roddy Piper, because Roddy Piper gave this guy everything, and he backs it up because he's the best there is, the best was, best ever will be. It's a great story. It's a beautiful story. You want both guys to win. You think Piper's going to revert to his old ways, and then even the finish. That finish comes back when Austin shows up with Bret and Austin,
Yeah.
and then that finish happens in the Rock and Austin match, and the Rock is the one who finally kicks out. When Austin almost gets tricked again by Rock, he goes nuts. Like, that finish builds that kickoff on the turnbuckle. That builds over the course of WWE storytelling. I mean, it gets referenced at Survivor Series 96. It gets referenced at WrestleMania 17. So, like, this is such a great match, and I love it. It's not the best match on the show.
That like moment where, how did like that moment where Piper has the ring bell? Did you watch this when you were a kid? No, right?
I didn't watch it live, so I knew he wasn't. I'm sure watching it live, if he did hit him with the bell, it's like the exact opposite of the Macho Man Elizabeth thing. It's like this guy's now going to the dark side, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that he doesn't, I think, solidifies him as this guy can never be a heel again. The fact that he doesn't, but he's considering it because that's who Piper is. It's a really good. Again, it's one of these matches, and this is when they start doing it, because they started the year before with Macho Man Ultimate Warrior. They start building upon the history of WWE to give you a better match. When you remember, they reward you for paying attention. They reward you for knowing Piper, for knowing Bret Hart, and it's really just one of my favorite Piper matches, one of my favorite Intercontinental matches. It's not my favorite match on this show. I know I keep going on how great it is. But it's still great. And the fact that this match and the other match are on this show, and then you have Undertaker, Jake, you can totally see why this is one of the best
Yeah,
WrestleManias of the early
Shawn
days.
Michaels versus Tito Santana. I think that's a great opening match, right?
Yeah.
Undertaker versus Jake Roberts, another fun match of passing of the torch. And then you have this classic. We're 3 matches in, and I'm like, this is the greatest WrestleMania of all
But
time.
it's also 3 matches where the 80s guys are letting the 90s guys shine.
Yes, exactly. So it this definitely feels like the passing of torch kind of moment, the end of an era. So that's why I think some people said like this felt like the
Mhm.
last WrestleMania of that
And those
Hogan
three
era.
guys, and you can argue whether or not business goes in the toilet because they build around these 3 guys, but they do build the next 6, 7 years around these 3 guys: HBK, Undertaker, and Hart.
Yeah, that's true. And you know, that's a good point. Yeah, you can say the business kind of goes down, but it also
But it's not because these 3 guys didn't do their job. What I'm talking about,
no. I
teamwork,
think it was
body.
I think it was a lot of different things, and one of them is like um, Vince McMahon didn't. Even he admitted he wasn't doing the best things. They were still doing these
Well,
gimmick shit.
we'll get into it as we go by. But
Yeah,
what I'm
exactly.
saying is these 3 guys do everything they can to get the '90s guys ready for the next step.
Very good. Yes. After this fantastic match, we get another debut.
Oh yeah,
Not really a debut, but we get another guy who is
it's
debuting.
a debut. I mean, he
Yeah,
doesn't show up for a year after this, but it's a kind of a yeah.
yeah. It's Bobby Heenan. He introduces Lex Luger, who's watching WrestleMania at his home, and he calls Gorilla fat, which I thought was pretty funny. And they talk about the WBF, the Bodybuilding Federation, because at this point Lex Luger is technically not allowed to wrestle because of WCW. And then Bobby
Also, he
Heenan,
got into the motorcycle accident that they had.
yes, he was in a motorcycle
They don't
accident.
mention it there, but he was in that motorcycle accident.
Uh, so Bobby Heenan gets into pose and he drinks like an Ico Pro protein shaker or some shit like that. And then he says he drinks it. He goes, "Oh, see you on June 13th." You know what makes this fun too is like you see Paul Ellering coming and you see Lex Luger. So it like when WrestleMania, it's like this WrestleMania. It feels like things are storylines are culminating, but also new beginnings are happening,
Yeah,
right? And I enjoyed that. They should do that with more
I
WrestleMania.
was I was so annoyed when they said this guy was in the WBF. I was like, why did you sign him? It makes sense now. He was supposed to wrestle, but he got into an accident and he couldn't
Yeah.
wrestle. So they just put him in the WBF. Um, but yeah, I think it was a good promo. It does feel like something slightly missing from how he was in WCW, but it's still a good promo.
You know what it is? They're making him use too many big fucking words.
Yeah,
In
I
this promo, he uses too many big fucking words, and I think they're trying to make him look like not only is this guy like a muscle bound freak, he's also intelligent, and I think that kind of takes away from it a
he's
little
not
bit.
intelligent.
Because you know why? Because he unfortunately can't sell that vocabulary.
Yeah.
It's just not believable,
And like
stuff
when
like
he makes fun of Gorilla, it just feels like he's reading off a script.
yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
But otherwise it's fine. It's fine. I mean, I guess
Oh, I still enjoyed it because excuse me, like I said, it's like you're seeing somebody debut, so I
yeah.
Um, in the heel locker room, we got the Mountie and the Nasties, and they're making fun of Virgil when, as they're talking, the Repo Man just comes out of nowhere and he's just like, hey, and they just start making fun of all their opponents um, in the next matches coming up. I really liked how they filmed that little segment because like it's kind of chaotic and stuff, and they're not even looking at the camera. And then right after this, we get another video, but this time it's their opponent, the Sergeant Slaughter, Virgil, Jim Duggan and the Boss Man, and they give the standard promo, which is they're all facing the camera and they all take turns cutting promos. And I thought this was a very good juxtaposition of these two promos, meaning that
Yeah.
here's one, these are the bad guys. And the bad guys promo, everything's chaotic. It's not even in your typical promo setting. There's guys who are not there at the beginning who just randomly come in. Whereas in the good guys, everything is normal setting. Everyone's facing the camera. The other one, they're not even facing the camera sometimes. And so it kind of shows the good guys and the bad guys, the chaotic setting and the normal setting. I love that. I love that setup. They should do stuff like this more often, even now. I don't think they do.
They don't. Yeah, no, it was good. It was good to get all 8 guys promo time because this match is very forgettable. So it's good that they at least got time to get themselves over by talking. So
Yes, yes. And we're gonna go. It's gonna go into our fourth match, the 8-man tag. Special guest ring announcer is Ray Combs, who used to be a former host of the Family Feud.
yeah,
And all wrestlers are in the ring, so nobody got any entrances. But Combs, he gives a kind of like he has a long he gets a good lengthy segment. It's a Family Feud segment that the crowd really enjoyed. Basically, he is doing a survey says, but he's hitting on all the heels. He says the Mountie doesn't know a lot of words, but he does the work of Three Stooges. He makes fun of Repo Man's face, says that he's really a girl, basically. The Nasty Boys are two men who share one brain and are lucky. And he takes turns making fun of all the heels, and then he gets chased out of the ring. I thought before this match even begins, this was the best usage of a celebrity since WrestleMania 1. That's what I thought. Mr. T.
okay. Yeah, I mean, this guy killed himself.
Ray Combs.
Yeah, it's going around. It's going around these days.
Wow,
But
geez.
whatchamacallit? I don't know. I always feel weird when I see him. I liked him. I preferred him on the Family Feud over the other hosts, but they don't show his episodes anymore because he did what he did. So
Wow.
I mean, he didn't kill himself that day. He didn't. Yeah. He also does commentary for Survivor Series '93, which we
Wow,
could.
he died at 40.
Yeah,
Why did he kill himself?
he got fired from Family Feud.
That's why?
Yeah, dude, people cannot take rejection. Some people cannot take bad news in show business.
Why did he get fired from Family Feud? He was
I don't
good.
know. I liked him. I liked him more than the other hosts, but nobody even talks because they don't show his episodes anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody. There's been like a bunch of hosts since he got fired.
Anyway,
Yeah,
I thought he was great
he
here.
was good. He was good. He's very
Yeah,
likable.
the crowd loved it. The crowd loved it. The heels played it off really well. Um, and we're gonna go into our fourth match: the Mountie Nasty Boys, the Repo Man versus the Boss Man, Jim Duggan, Sergeant Slaughter, and Virgil. They in the to start off this match, they try to do the synchronized like uh back elbows, but fucking Boss Man fucks it up, right? He goes way too early, and he looked annoyed that he fucked it up too. Um, Bobby Heenan says during this match, Bobby Heenan goes, "HBK has left the building." I used to love it when they used to do this because it's supposed to be like Elvis reference that they used to do for Shawn Michaels, and I used to get a kick out of it. Virgil, when Virgil's in the ring, there's a point where like his opponent is down on the ground and somebody's supposed to hit him from behind and he kind of I think like doesn't know like what to do next, so he just like shadow boxes and then he gets hit from behind and it shows you how like not good he was because other people wouldn't do it like that,
Yeah, you
like
start seeing that why they stopped pushing Virgil in this match.
yeah, like if your opponent is down and you know you have to get like heat by somebody hitting you from behind, maybe how about like I don't know, you do like the stomps to your opponent or something. But he just starts shadow boxing nobody. It's kind of stupid. Um, and I was like, yeah, Virgil's not that good. Mountie, he does like a funny spot, I thought, in this match where he does a turnbuckle and he yells like, "Ah, the Mountie!" And then he jumps off and he just jumps into like fucking Big Boss Man. That's really funny.
That's funny.
Mountie doesn't get enough credit for being a great comedic
Yeah,
wrestler.
he's really funny. Yeah, he's really
Yeah.
he knows how to be a heel.
Anyways, chaos ensues. Everybody's in the ring at once. Sergeant Jerry Sachs, he grabs Virgil's face mask because he's wearing a face mask because Repo Man broke his nose. And he goes to hit Virgil with the face mask, but he ducks and he hits um, Knobs with it instead. And then Virgil covers Knobs for the win. I thought this was a fun, like, popcorn match that, in my opinion, this should be a standard for all popcorn matches.
I mean, I liked it. I kind of got annoyed. And I was annoyed as a kid, and I'm annoyed now. Kind of thought it was a kind of a waste of the Big Boss Man. Like I would have liked him to have like a legitimate match on this show. I still think the Boss Man could go, and I kind of felt like they've already given up on him, and it's like I don't feel that's fair. But it
I
was
think you're
okay
right.
for what it was. It was fine. You know.
Yeah. I think you're right, but it's also kind of nice that these guys got to be at the show. I mean, they could be
Yeah,
at the
I
like
mean
Dino
Texas
Bravo, right?
Tornado.
Yeah, Texas
Texas,
Tornado, Dino
yeah,
Bravo.
they're like, sorry, Chris is dead. He doesn't exist anymore in this continuity, so you can just sit at home. So
So you don't exist on this WrestleMania card.
yeah. So 1 second. I still can't believe they New 52'd Chris Von Erich out of continuity. He's no longer, he's no longer in continuity. Chris Von Erich.
Yo, man, yeah. No, but you know what? They got the ESPN part wrong. It's more important.
They said that Kevin Von Erich wrestled Holy Race this day. It was actually the other day, so the movie stinks. Anyway, but yeah, I just
Anyway,
kind of felt like they could have done more with Boss Man, but hey, listen, they wanted to have less matches. This was a way to get 8 guys in the card that they probably really had no ideas for, so it's fine.
yeah, like you know what? I felt the same way about like Boss Man and like even like I was like, you know what, like Sergeant Slaughter could be in a little better role. But to be fair, if you look at it the other way, a lot of these guys probably didn't have his storylines going on, but this is like, you know what, you could be like other people who are left completely off the show, or you could be on the show in a match and get that payoff, that WrestleMania payoff, you know? So I was like, yeah, you know, that's better than nothing, right? So it
Yeah,
is
no,
what it is.
it's better than nothing, but at the same time, it's like I wish boy. I mean, this is a problem I had since I was a kid, so
Yeah. Well, they showed
I'm
Vladimir
still
again.
feeling the annoyance as I was like, what? These guys got to wrestle this match? They can't. But it's
Just
fine.
can't get over it, huh?
Still not over it.
Well, you know, it's okay if you can't get over it because there's some people who can't get over stuff. Like Ric Flair, he can't get over Liz. You see, Shawn Mooney's in the back. He's with Mr. Perfect and Ric Flair. And they keep talking about how they have this giant picture of Liz. Because the whole thing is that he was dating Elizabeth before Randy Savage.
Yeah.
And Flair cuts a good promo on Savage saying he's going to be taking a beating. And then he's going to be, when you take a beating and you're laying down on your back, you're going to be looking up at a big picture of Liz. I'm guessing he's alluding to a naked picture of her, right?
Yeah, so Ric Flair suddenly puts out that when they changed the match that he had Liz before Savage and he has photos. And then they're doctored photos where he took Savage out, he put himself in. And so and he's bragging that Liz is still like into him, and Macho Man, of course, is really mad about all this.
That's a great storyline. That is.
It was a good storyline.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we're going to our fifth match, which is technically dubbed as the co-main event, but this is the middle of the show.
Yeah.
Okay. It is for the WWF World Title. So that's right. The world title is not going to be defended in the main event. It's right here in the middle. It is Ric Flair champion with Mr. Perfect. They come out first, and there's a sign that says Flair is a square, which I thought was kind of cute. And then Macho Man runs down with no Elizabeth. And they start fighting right on the floor. And as they're fighting, Perfect gets involved, and then they both kind of lead back into the ring. And then Macho Man's beating on Flair to begin the match until Flair backdrops him over the top rope onto the floor. Then Flair takes his turn beating on Macho Man. Macho Man fires back him. They start going toe to toe. Macho, while Flair is on the floor, comes up to the top turnbuckle and he does a double axe handle from the top to the floor. Flair from that bumps his head on the rail and he blades because as he's coming out, you see him do this towards the camera and he starts bleeding. Now, at this time, WWF, we're just going to take a little break from the match. WWF had a no blood policy and they were fining people. Bret Hart mentioned this in his book and he mentioned it again in his podcast. He says, this is Bret Hart's words. So me and Roddy had a match. And of course, I was discreet. No one really saw what happened. And all of a sudden, I'm bleeding. And luckily for me, it wasn't a real gusher like the one with Roddy with. Luckily, it wasn't a real
Flair.
gusher. Yeah, like the one Flair did. And someone like Roddy, he smeared some blood on my face, kind of thing, and it wasn't like that Steve Austin time where there was blood pouring everywhere. But yeah, it was effective enough. And I remember when I came back to the dressing room, we had to pretend we were mad at each other. He was apologizing and telling me it was an accident and that he didn't mean to kick me because we had put on this big charade. No one, so we didn't get fined.
Yeah.
So then 10 minutes later, Ric Flair and Macho Man go out there and have a juice fest. Anyway, WWE fined them. Both of them, I think, got $5,000 each fine for having blood in the match. And I remember they said, "What about Bret and Roddy?" And they said theirs was real, so we never got fined. Thoughts on this before we progress?
Vince got really pissed at Ric Flair for this match. Now I remember. I think Vince said something like, "I can't trust you that you did this."
Which Ric Flair will reference later in the 2000s when he comes back. Do you remember this?
Oh no! In a promo, is that how I knew? How I
Yeah,
knew?
in a promo, he said that's the first time I had heard about this.
Yeah,
Was that when Ric Flair came back to the company in the 2000s when WCW folded,
yeah.
and they were starting to build towards a Ric Flair versus
Vince McMahon match.
Vince McMahon match. He referenced this as a point of he had one of the greatest matches that he thought up to that point, and after
Right.
the match, Vince McMahon shit on him and
Yeah.
said something like, "You were this close to having a great match, and you just blew it all away. Something stupid." And Ric Flair said, "Who are you to judge my ability?" And I remember I was like, "What the hell?" At the time when I hear that, I was like, "What the hell are they talking about?" And I had to like go on the internet, and I found out this is what he's talking about. Vince McMahon was really mad at him about this, and I Ric Flair held a grudge until like whatever.
But my thing is this: is like I get it from two ways. Yes, Vince doesn't want any blood. He's got like toy sponsorships. He's got like all these He probably told people we're not like that world class bullshit. We're not like WCW. And then Ric Flair shows up and just starts bleeding like it's fucking Starcade '83. I get why Vince is mad, but
Yes,
also this was the best. This was a fucking phenomenal match, and the crowd is on their feet and they're loving it. And I get it, and I get it, but to say like you did not have a great match is a lie. You can say you had a great match, but you disobeyed me, so you're a fucking idiot. Like you could have had the same match. There didn't need to be blood in the match. There did
yeah,
not. In
there didn't need
fact,
to be blood in the match, and I agree. It even if there's blood and it's against policy, it doesn't mean that's a bad match. But I think Vince was probably talking out of anger, right?
because yeah, because it's like I'm giving you the opportunity to become bigger than the NWA and world class, and you just can't leave that fucking territory shit.
Yeah, you can't leave that mindset. Yes,
You had to bleed. To this day, like Ric Flair, like thinks every show should have bleeding. I heard him say that.
I think there's a lot of old school mentality that still thinks that, and I
Yeah,
think
and
that's
like,
stupid.
but you know, this is how inconsequential that blood is to me. I forgot he bled until he started bleeding in the match, and I'm like, oh yeah, he bleeds this match. But to me, the match is good enough. You don't need the blood. It's like well, it's like an unnecessary thing. It's like and so I kind of I agree with both ways, but to say like you didn't have a good match, but I think Vince said that to him. He goes, I think Vince wanted to put something in his head that would fuck with him forever. You know what I mean? Because he was so mad at him. Because if you
Yeah,
tell
I like it. You know
telling
what?
Rick,
I doubt Vince really thought like
he knew it was a good match.
yeah, he knew it was a good match, but I think that's what I'm saying. I think he probably said that out of anger, right?
Yeah,
And you know what? To be fair, this is this thing. Both Roddy and Brett knew they were gonna do this blood thing, right? And supposedly, if you hear Brett talk about it, it was actually Roddy's idea. And Roddy Piper said, "I'm not gonna tell you what to do, but I think it could be better with blood, right?" So it's Roddy's idea, and if Macho and Ric Flair also had the same mentality, like, "Hey, I think it could be better with this." they should have been. The simple thing is just be more discreet, like Bret was. That's all you do. Just be
But here's the thing. This is the thing that works in Piper and Bret Hart's favor. They never bleed. I've never seen Bret Hart bleed before today. I've never seen.
yeah,
Well, Piper and Ric Flair is bleeding every other show before he gets to WWF. So it's like I know that you wanna, and I'm sure everyone knew that this guy loves juicing. I know you want to fucking juice, and then you went and juiced. Like you're a fucking scumbag. You know?
yeah. And
That's
here's the thing too: the wrong guy juice.
yeah. Well, Ric Flair always has the juice. He thinks
Yeah, but he's the heel. He shouldn't be the one. It should have been. It should have been Macho Man,
he
right?
really wanted AIDS back then. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Anyway,
The match didn't need it, but I loved it anyway.
yeah. Going back to this match, so Ric Flair is bleeding, and Macho goes to the top, and he hits the flying elbow drop. But while he's in the cover, Mr. Perfect drags Macho Man away during the pin. And as Perfect and Macho Man start tussling, Mr. Perfect tosses Ric Flair a chain. And Rick has the chain and he clocks Macho Man with it. And he covers it only for a 2 count. And then Mr. Perfect gets a chair and he fucking hits Macho Man with the chair when the ref is not looking. And Liz starts coming down to the ring to kind of support Macho Man because he's kind of getting double teamed, right?
Yeah.
And Dave Hebner is there to stop her. Shane McMahon is there to stop her. And this time he didn't break his leg in his WrestleMania appearance. Is that Shane's first WrestleMania appearance?
It's his first appearance. He was a referee. He's a referee at Survivor Series '89.
Oh, okay.
But this is like his first, like, I'm an official,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Ric Flair, he has the figure 4 on Macho Man, and Macho Man reverses it and then gets out of it. And Flair starts gloating to Liz, and then he works on Macho Man's left knee some more because he's trying to put the figure 4 back on. But Macho Man just hits Ric Flair and he schoolboys him up for the win for the longest match of the WrestleMania show. It is 25 minutes. It's a good match. I don't think it's the best match of the show, but it's a very good match.
I like it a lot. The crowd is going nuts.
It's better than Bret Piper.
Yeah, there's something about it I just really like. I think it's because like Bret Piper to me, and again, like this is me as a young man, as a young goots, wasn't a dream match, but to me, like at this point, Flair Hogan and Flair Savage is a dream match. Now we see it so many times in WCW. It
Yeah.
loses its luster, Flair Savage, but it wasn't like that yet. So seeing these two go at it, and also like it does feel this is the final chapter in Macho Man's WrestleMania saga. So he's got he loses the IC belt, he gets the WWE title, he loses the title, he loses Liz, gets humiliated by Dusty, he gets Liz back, and now he has the title back. And
Yeah.
now the title. So he's back where he was. It's full circle. So I like that part of the storytelling. Yeah, Ric Flair was just fantastic in this match. I mean, he has the crowd on their feet. And when you consider like I don't know, it's just like I mean, I didn't really think Starrcade '83 was that good, but it's almost 10 years since Starrcade and he's at WrestleMania and he's stealing the show at WrestleMania, You know what I mean? It's like it's kind of impressive how good he still is in 1992.
Yes. It's not over though. After the match, a mad Ric Flair starts yelling at Liz. He goes, "What about me? Huh? What about me?" And he forces himself on her and he kisses her, and she starts slapping away at him. And then Macho Man attacks him, but he's outnumbered. Ric Flair, Mr. Perfect, they start beating on him, and then they leave. But even though Macho Man got his ass kicked, he gets fireworks to celebrate his title win. And then in the back, Sean Mooney, he's in the locker room, and he's with Mr. Perfect, who says, "Did you see that? He had a handful of tights, man. Macho Man had a handful of tights." Bobby Heenan comes running in, and he's like saying the same thing. He had a handful of tights. They're both going crazy. The only one who's staying quiet is Ric Flair. He's quiet. And then finally, Sean Mooney goes to talk to him, and he calls Liz a Jezebel. And they show you a replay of the finish. And to be fair, Macho Man did have a handful of tights.
But
You even see Ric Flair's mood.
The way they set it up is Ric Flair always cheated, and now Macho Man's doing the same thing to him.
Yes.
So it's like he's heard about his fair play.
Yes. Ric Flair cut the promo, and he ends it with saying, might be tomorrow. It might be a week from now. We don't know, but I'm gonna beat you. and I'm gonna beat you bad. And when I see your old lady, I'm gonna kiss her on those moist, wet lips. And I fucking laughed my ass off. And then Bobby Heenan like breaks the fucking payphone in the fucking dressing room. It's a fake payphone, so he smacked it, and the whole thing just kind of moves. Oh, and then Mean Gene is with Macho Man and Liz,
Mhm.
and Macho Man, it's not over in his mind either because he goes, "Oh, I got the title, but I want the rest of it for what you did to Liz." So he wants the rest of Ric Flair as well. And then Gene goes to ask Liz a question, and Macho Man goes, "Oh no, you don't talk to her," and he shoos her away again. I thought the promo segments after this match were just as good. You know,
They were good. The problem was they don't properly follow up. They do.
that's terrible because it set it up so that you could follow up. Why didn't they follow up?
I really thought it was gonna be Savage Flair in a rematch at SummerSlam, and they do. But also, I think Liz. So in real life, Liz leaves Savage after this, like in real
Oh,
life, and so they had to kind of pivot away from mentioning Liz. Do you know they reveal that she divorced him in the magazine?
in a WWE magazine.
Yeah, 1993. They said we haven't seen Liz around, and they it's the letter column, and they go like, "Hey, we haven't seen Liz around. Is she okay?" And when the editor goes, "Well, we talked to Macho Man." Macho Man's like, "Well, Liz has divorced me. We decided we're better off as friends, but we're not. There's no hard feelings, and I wish her the best. But you won't see her on WWE anymore." Like they put that in the magazine. They didn't put that on TV. I was like, wow.
That's interesting. I did not know that.
But
Huh.
she kind of leaves him around this time. This is why when we get to 9, the rumor is the reason why Hogan had the black eye is apparently Liz got told to leave. The rumor is Linda Hogan told Liz to leave Savage, and Macho Man confronted Hogan that weekend and punched him. No one knows if it's true or not. So
Um,
Hogan claimed
that
it was a
could
voting
explain
accident.
why they don't follow up with this feud thing, with Ric
Yeah,
Flair and Rodman.
they
That's
they
too
do
bad
some
too,
they do
because
something else with Flair Warrior. You'll see it. I don't think it was as good. And then when Warrior left, it falls apart again. They have to turn Mr. Perfect face, and then it just kind of ends. But
that's too bad too, because there's still a lot of juice left. I mean, in between
yeah,
these
the
two.
fucking I love this. I think that's the other reason I love this match because I was like, oh man, we're gonna see Savage Flair all summer, and then
Yeah. So like this is the midway point, but it's still a very good show so far.
yeah. So now we're at the intermission point because they used to have
Yeah.
intermission.
So they show you a recap of the WrestleMania press conference, and you know what? Back when these press conferences, they used to look so phony to me
Yeah,
because they're so small, right? And
yeah.
they look so bad. And Hulk Hogan, they say they have like all the main, like they have Savage and like all like Hogan, they
Piper,
got Sid,
Undertaker.
all in
Yeah,
the thing, and they go say who's gonna, then they're gonna announce who gets a title shot. And they say Hulk Hogan's getting a title shot, and not Sting, Sid is clearly upset. And afterwards, you see him turn to the camera going, Jack Tunney, like, why? Why did you pick Hogan over me? Why? Because the big movie stuff? And they do a recap of the main event where Sid and Hogan are teaming up after Sid apologized to Hogan. And they're taking on Taker and Flair. And then Sid walks out on Hogan, who's getting his ass kicked. I remember watching this main event on NBC. And I
it
was like,
was on Fox. It was on Fox.
oh, Fox or whatever I was on. I'll tell you right now, even when I was a kid, I didn't buy Sid was gonna be friends with Hogan the whole time. I was like, I know he's gonna turn this motherfucker.
Yeah, yeah.
Then they show you Sid on the barbershop and he destroys the entire set, gets shaving cream all over his face, and he starts yelling at the camera like a crazy person. Then they show you a really cool montage of Sid just destroying jobbers, throwing them around, chokeslamming them, including Virgil. I liked how out of all the people he's beating up, every single one of them is a jobber except for Virgil.
Yeah, and they just destroy Virgil. They destroy
Yeah.
him.
Then we get a bunch of Native Americans doing a war dance in the ring, and then Sean Mooney is in the back with Rick the Model Martel, who says Tatanka is not even going to be at this match because he's in the back, out back, scalping tickets. I'm like, ooh. they should have a heel character right now who still does these like subtle racial like jabs. I did not be perfect, dude.
Yeah. They can't now with so many sponsors and how the fucking internet is. Did you
Too
see
bad.
there was like some fucking weird like indie wrestling podcast and one of the guests like made a joke about a referee who died. Um, I guess the referee was allergic to peanuts and accidentally ate peanuts and died. And he's like making fun of him, and now like everyone is so you can never make fun of anyone who dies. Like dude, everyone is so sensitive now that like it's not worth like courting
Yeah,
people.
it's not worth it. Yeah,
Dude,
yeah,
people they can't they can't just like they can't accept like you can't do a like oh I'm telling a story and in this story this character's racist and then like but the character's bad. They can accept that. They think the actor is actually racist. You know?
the world has gotten dumber.
Yeah,
We've
it
gotten
has.
dumber. Yeah,
So
we
like you
have.
can't, yeah, like and dude, it's like they're going on and on and on and on and on about this guy making the joke about the guy dying, and I'm like, to be honest with you, I never heard of this referee guy until everyone got mad that this guy made the joke, and it's like, if you all didn't get mad about this, I wouldn't know who this guy is. Like,
Yeah, the
and it's
world
like
the world's dumber, man. You know, people
dumber, more
believe that the world is
sensitive.
yeah.
You
They
can't
think the
do,
world is flat. I mean, the people who think the world is flat, like, do you fucking? We're just gotten dumber, dude.
dude. If somebody did their Reba McEntire joke today, if like Corey Graves said that,
Reba McIntyre, yeah. Oh, fucking
before
Corey Graves.
at WrestleMania, the entire fucking broadcast with people complaining about that, and probably blaming Vince McMahon, even though he's
Yeah,
not there. So I don't know. It's so the world is fucking dumber.
you know what's not dumb? This next match. I didn't think this was dumb at all.
You
Match number
liked it,
6.
Tatanka, Rick Martel?
Rick Martel versus Tatanka. And they keep mentioning that. You know he's a true Native American.
Oh, because yeah, so the other ones were because Jay Strongbow was Italian.
Yeah, because wrestling has a long history of using fake Native Americans. So I don't blame them for saying they're the true Native American guys. This is the true one. Um, Mark Martel goes up to the top and Tatanka crotches him and he starts firing up. And then Martel still kind of gets the upper hand because he's like a veteran, but then like Tatanka hits like a running cross body for the win. It's kind of out of nowhere again. So we have these like two out of nowhere finishes. Like Ric Flair, Randy Savage was kind of out of nowhere, and then we have this kind of out of nowhere. So I'm getting sick and tired of that finish
Yeah.
because it's like the third or fourth time we're
And
seeing
aren't they
it. This
doing it?
one,
They're doing it also in WCW, right? We saw that
yeah,
happen. Yeah.
yeah. But I will say this: I thought this was a great showing for Tatanka.
Yeah, this was basically to let people know, hey, again, just like they did with like Shawn Michaels, like, hey, Tatanka's the next guy to keep your eyes out. Obviously,
Exactly. You have a veteran putting him over,
yeah,
and
this is the first pay-per-view appearance of Tatanka. Yeah.
yeah, and you know what? Here's the thing: Savage and Ric Flair such an emotional ride. You kind of need
Yeah,
like a reset button. That's what this is.
what this
You know?
was.
Yeah. And you know what? If it's a good reset button, it's not boring. It is what it is, right? Sean Mooney's in the back. He's with Money Incorporated and Jimmy Hart, and they cut a promo on the natural disasters. And it's a typical 80s style, early 90s promo where the heels are just using way too many puns. You know, Million Dollar Man's got to make money references and everything, and IRS got to make tax references and everything. And then Mean Gene, he is with the natural disasters, and if you go back and watch this, it looks like a fucking Mean Gene sandwich. You know?
Yeah.
Mean Gene's so small in the middle. He's with these two big fucking dudes. And, they're cutting a promo. You know what I loved about this promo?
What's that?
That Earthquake no longer rocks back and forth.
No, he's a good guy now.
Yeah, he just stands there like a normal person and talks. I was like, thank God. And at the end, when they're fucking like giving each other a high five, they fucking knock the mic out of Mean Gene's hand, and it cracks up Mean Gene for some reason. I guess it's kind of funny. We're gonna go to match number 7. It's for the WBF tag team titles. The champions, Money Incorporated, come out with Jimmy Hart, and the Natural Disasters are coming out. While Money Incorporated is coming out, there's a fan in the audience with a fucking gorgeous mullet, and he holds up fucking 6 $1 bills.
Yeah.
And Bobby Heenan calls him out. He goes, "Look at that! He's like, look at that loser. He's got $6." And Gorilla's like, "Hey, $6 could be a lot of money to that person." I'm like, no, not even in 1992 was that a lot of money. DiBiase and Typhoon in this match, they tried to do it like over the top rope spot that kind of like doesn't go well, but it is what it is. That's huge. And when that does happen though, Money Incorporated finally get the upper hand on the bigger sized team. Earthquake makes a hot tag in, but the crowd is not really into this match. But they do come alive when Earthquake is trying to go for his Earthquake splash finish, but Jimmy Hart grabs IRS out of the ring, and Money Incorporated takes a countout loss. This was really stupid.
I hated this match. I've always hated this match. I thought when I was younger, I did not like Money Inc. And I thought to myself, maybe it's because I'm just not paying attention. They are not a good tag team. Money Inc. is not a good tag team. And I'll tell you something else. The Natural Disasters as faces do not work. They can't, it just looks so dumb. Earthquake was like putting Hogan in the hospital, and now he's struggling with fucking IRS. And then for them to just leave, why didn't they just leave when the match started? Why did they mid the bell rang? They just walked away. And there's no Jack Twin doesn't come out and be like, you have to get back in the ring. There's no consequences. If there's no consequences, why didn't they just do that the moment the bell rang? Why did they even have a match? I
I
fucking
don't
hate.
agree with you on all parts except for that. I liked Money Inc. as a tag team.
I mean, it's a good idea, but their matches. Wait till we see more of their matches. Their matches are fucking terrible, and the Natural Disasters they're just not good faces. They're not good at all. Like,
I would say Natural Disasters are they're just like naturally a heel team, you
and
know?
you know what it felt to me as a kid, and it feels to me they're very confused on how to act as faces. They just
Yes.
don't know how to act, and again, it's really bad for them to fucking what is it for them to be selling for these two little guys? And then why does Money Inc. have Jimmy Hart? Like, these two guys can talk for hours. Why would they need Jimmy Hart? Like,
Yeah,
Natural
exactly.
Disasters need Jimmy Hart. It was just a weird. I didn't understand as a kid turning Natural Disasters face and having Jimmy Hart with Money Inc. And I still don't understand it. It just
Yeah.
didn't benefit anyone. The only
You know
thing I could. I'm sorry. The
no, go
only
ahead.
the only reason that any of this makes sense is if they knew Ted DiBiase's time was limited and they wanted to protect him. It's the only way any of this makes any sense.
Yeah. You know what I liked about Money Inc. was when they would fight jobbers and at the end of the match, Ted DiBiase would put the money in his mouth, but then like I would come and steal it.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
funny.
I think that was so funny. Where he would put the money in his mouth, but then he was coming and take it away.
Yeah, I thought this was the worst match on the show
This was the worst match of the show, and
by
the
far.
end doesn't help at all.
By far.
Mean Gene, he is in the back with Brutus Beefcake, Mean Gene calls him one of the all-time greats. I don't know about that. And they recap how he had an accident and how he also says that, Beefcake, you're Hulk Hogan's best friend. And while I was saying this, I did notice, if you go back and watch, Beefcake's left side of his face is like more swollen than the right side.
Yeah, because of that accident. Yeah.
Yeah. And Beefcake says that whether this is Hogan's last match or not, doesn't matter. We're always going to be behind you, Hulk Hogan. Hulkamania forever. Good little promo by Beefcake. Match number 8.
Yeah, it's good to get over like the main event. Yeah, I didn't mind
Yeah.
it. It's good to
And
see him back doing stuff.
yeah, just kind of showing Beefcake is back. I kind of like that. Match number 8 is the Rocket Owen Hart versus Skinner. Owen Hart starts off this match by going up to the top rope and backflipping into the ring. And as soon as he turns around, Skinner spits on his face. I fucking love that. Skinner hits his Gator Breaker finisher on Owen, but Owen kicks out, and then Owen hits a O'Connor roll for a quick 1 minute win. I can tell this is one of those like, I'm sorry, somebody went a little long, so we got to cut more time off you guys
But at
situation.
least
But
it made Owen Hart look like a badass. I mean, he needed I mean, after like the tag teams he was in, the Blue Blazer shit, he needed a big win, and he got it here. So that's good.
well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's a 1 minute match, but it's a 1 minute match that does something, right?
yeah. Because if Skinner won, it would have been like this is a waste of time. But
Yeah. So Mean Gene, he is with Sid and Harvey Whippleman. He's trying to interview him, but Sid yells, "Shut up, you fat bald headed little oof!" or oath. I'm sorry, and he says he's not like because Mean Gene said it's gonna be a barn burner. He's like, no, it's not gonna be a barn burner. This is Hogan's last match, and Mean Gene shows a clip of Junior asking Hulk if it's gonna be his last match. That interview segment that you were talking about, they show you that clip, and Hogan just starts giving his long, fucking winded answer, but he concludes with like, "Oh, I won't really know until I'm at the end," you know. And
Yeah.
then we turn to Sid, and Sid once again yells, "Shut up!" to Mean Gene, and then he curses, and he goes to Hulk, and he looks at the camera, and he goes, "Hulk, I curse you." Uh, I fucking love Sid. I don't know how people hated Sid. He's so funny. He's just like, "Shut up, you fat bald headed little oaf." That shit's so funny.
That is funny.
Nobody talked to Gene like that back then,
No.
you know? He's great. So we're going to match number 9. This is the actual main event.
So Hogan didn't cut a promo on this show.
What?
Hogan didn't cut a promo like it's all classic
He
Hogan.
did, because he normally cuts a promo, and I wonder if it's issues or they were like that showing that little clip again is enough. I don't know.
You know what I think, and the more I watch, I think Vince was just done with Hogan, and he's like, "I'm done with you. I don't care how little Boots feels, but I'm done with you." That's what it feels
I
like.
believe.
Yeah.
So in our main event, Dr. Harvey Whippleman, he is doing the intro to Sid and Hogan. And as Hogan's getting in the ring, Sid just attacks him right away.
Mhm.
And they are fighting as the Hogan's music is still playing. His theme is still playing, and Hogan gets the best of him. He rips his shirt, and then like that's when the bell rings and the match actually begins. Kind of interesting
Mhm.
because I hadn't seen that up to that point. They do a great face off, and Sid is bigger than Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
And they do a fucking test of strength. And the crowd, test of strengths are kind of like, they're stupid looking, but there's an art form to it as well if you do it right. And they are doing it pretty well here because the crowd gets super into it. But here's the thing Hogan never beats Sid in the test of strength.
No, they protect Sid a lot in this match.
Yeah. The commentators they refer to that too. They say like, yo, Hogan couldn't get out of it. Sid has power advantage. And Sid, he choke slams Hulk and Bobby Heenan, I think this is the first time I'm hearing him call him Psycho Sid. And Sid's beating on Hogan with the doctor's bag from Harvey Whippleman. During this match, I see a fan has a sign in the crowd, and it says John 3:3. I was like, well, that's a Bible reference about being born again. And right after that, you see Sid give Hogan the last right. And I was like, yo, is Hogan going to be born again? What's going on here? Sid power bombs Hulk Hogan, and Hogan kicks out of it, and he starts hulking up. And I was like, oh shit, he is born again. Hogan drops the leg, but Sid kicks out of it, out of the 3 count, and Harvey Whippleman gets in the ring, and the ref calls a DQ. While this is happening, Papa Shango is like running down the ramp.
Slowly makes the way to the ring.
Yeah. Excuse me.
That's okay.
Papa Shango and Sid, they both start attacking Hulk Hogan. When Ultimate Warrior's music starts playing, and Warrior just runs down, and the crowd is fucking eating this shit up. They love it. And afterwards, after the heels get chased out, Hogan and Warrior, they stand and they start posing, and the crowd's fucking loving it. The fireworks going off. And that is how the show ends. Your thoughts on this main event?
I didn't, you know me. I'm a Hulkamaniac for life. I didn't like this match.
What did you like about it?
I just didn't think it was
It
that
didn't
good.
really make Hogan look bad.
It didn't have no, that's not the point. It didn't really have a lot of heat. It wasn't really like they don't. I don't think these guys have good chemistry in the ring together. The other thing is, you could tell Harvey Whippleman and Papa Shango fuck up the finish. I don't think Sid was supposed to kick out, but I think he did when he was like Harvey Whippleman's not in position. You know what I mean?
Oh, I listened to Charles Wright, who plays Papa Shango and Godfather and so forth.
Yeah,
He got interviewed. Remember, he's pretty green and he's new, right?
yeah.
And he said this was thrown together like that day. They told him, you're going to be part of this. And he said, all right. And he said he's standing there, like right in front of the fucking curtains, just waiting for his cue. He said he's not even watching the monitor.
Yeah.
Because how can he be? He's just like in position, like a football player. And the person who's supposed to give him the cue fucked up. They gave
Yeah.
him the wrong
There's a
cue.
lot of yeah. So
Yeah. And
but
he said, Charles Wright said he never got heat for it, which I believe because he was with the company for so long and he had prominent positions. He said he didn't know about this until he was like years later when he's doing like autograph signings and someone brought it up. Like, hey, why did you come out lit? And he was like, what the hell are you talking about? Like his fans were asking, and that's when he found out.
yeah.
But so it's not really.
I kind of feel like Harvey Whitman starts to fuck up. I think he was supposed to be in the ring before Sid kicked out of the leg drop.
I think Papa Shango was supposed to interfere.
It's a weird finish. I don't know. I thought this was Hogan's weakest WrestleMania match. Besides WrestleMania 4, which was just a waste of time, him and Andre at 4.
Uh,
But I think this is his weakest WrestleMania match. But it's great to see the Warrior come back. You know, so funny when the music hits, people almost like can't believe it. And then when they see him, they go bananas, bro. They fucking
yeah.
go ballistic.
For those
It's
of you guys who don't know, Warrior,
Warrior's
the
gone.
last time what?
Warrior's gone. Like everyone thinks he's gone
Warrior
forever.
had left in August of 1991. So it was over 7 months that he wasn't with this company. He came back over 7 months. Yeah, it's not like a CM Punk kind of hiatus, but that's in wrestling terms, 7 months is a long time. You
Back
know?
then it was a long time. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
back then it was a long time.
and
Yeah.
I remember when they told me he's back, I was really excited. And I did enjoy this match as a kid because of the Warrior's big return. But then
Yes.
the Warrior wounds up doing nothing and then gets fired and then vanishes until 96.
You know what? This match is not a good match. It's not a good main event, but just
You like
like
it?
the stuff that happens in it kind of makes it fun. Like the Warrior
I
comes
mean,
back.
yeah, it ends with you like really hopeful for the future. It ends with you
Yeah.
like Warrior's back. We can get, Savage has the belt. Yeah, the company's in a good place when the show ends, but until everything gets fucked up in a few months. But yeah, like just watching the match itself now, and you know me, I love the Hulkster. Even though he looks good at the end, I couldn't get into it. I didn't think these two were good in the ring together.
They were bad. I thought they had some chemistry. I thought it was cool seeing Hogan facing an opponent who was bigger than him, who's not like a monster. We're
Yeah.
talking about like every time he was facing somebody who was bigger than him, the guy was like a freak of nature, like a fucking King Kong Bundy or a fucking
Yeah.
like Andre the Giant. This guy he's got the same physique as Hogan. He just happens to be bigger, and I actually like that. Um, I I mean I personally didn't mind this. So all in all, I think this is up to this point the best WrestleMania we've seen so far.
Yeah, I
The
think
first
so.
eight.
Maybe because the other thing is that all those short, shitty matches take a toll on you, especially with the Peacock ad breaks.
Yes.
It's like less is more. So what do we have? Like in 8 or 9 matches?
We had about
Yeah.
nine
So
matches.
everyone gets time in the match that you don't care about. Skinner, Owen Hart gets no time, but like at least Owen Hart looks good in it. So yeah, it was great. I think they learned their lesson, and it's a good show. It gets in, it gets out, doesn't overstay its welcome. So I enjoyed it.
No match really overstays its welcome,
Yeah.
and it's the right amount. And yeah, I liked it a lot. Uh, this is we'll see what happens next one because we'll see if they can live up to the standard.
Okay, so the next 4 weeks. Next week is Wrestle War 92. We have
Wrestle
Sting.
War '92.
Yep, Sting Squadron versus the Dangerous Alliance in War Games. Then in 2 weeks we have Beach Blast 92, which is Ricky Steamboat versus Rick Rude in an Iron Man match. Then in 3 weeks we have Great American Bash 92, which is Sting versus Vader. And then in 4 weeks we have SummerSlam 92, which main event is British Bulldog Bret Hart. So
Ooh. Well, I am kind of curious of seeing Sting versus Vader,
mm,
right? What about you?
yeah, again, like I know you don't like War Games matches. I've always heard this is the best one next week, so I'm excited to see that.
Oh
Um,
yeah, you did say that a few
yeah,
times.
I'm
Yes.
excited to see Sting Vader. SummerSlam 92 be fun for a rewatch. I'm not a huge fan of that show. Other people love that's a show that people love. So at least we'll get a lot of hits on it. So that'd be good.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, Hebrew. All right, guys, that's the podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe. Ray Goots Comedy. Subscribe to the podcast, Goots' Wrestling Pod. Follow us on TikTok, Ray Goots Comedy on TikTok. And then also, We have the Patreon, $1 just to support the show. $5 you get the video version. You get to see my Macho Man sweater and my devil hat. So that's good for something, right? Hey, bro.
It is. It is. Happy Halloween.
Oh, happy holidays, you mean? Yeah.
I don't know.
So this
Devil
is the
hat. I don't
final
know.
episode, dude. We did an episode every week. Well, you weren't in every episode, but we did an episode every week for 2023. This is the final episode. This is going to come out on the 29th. We did a full year. We went from
Yeah,
Starcade
we
83 to
covered
WrestleMania 8.
we covered close to a decade
I know it's
of
not
pay-per-view.
gonna be like that the next year.
No,
We
it's
had
gonna
a
be
lot of
different.
shows.
Yeah.
But it's been a fun year. We'll see you in 2024 for Wrestle War 92. See you then.
See you later.